Okay, so we are back. We just finished recording the Atlantic Division. Our thoughts on the trade deadline moves, except for Toronto. Here we have Toronto saved the worst for last because I need to sit through this for the next 20 to 30 minutes of my life. Ah, okay, I'm gonna end up. I'm gonna start with answering this question, asking this question. Did you guys do enough?
Define enough, Brian. You have to define the hump again.
I'm gonna
What
define
is enough? The Stanley Cup.
enough is defined by: are you satisfied as a fan going into the playoffs with this roster?
So that means getting by Tampa, right?
I think that's because I think every team sets what is a satisfying season for them differently. Like the Sabres is sniff a playoff spot. That's an absolute success, right? For I would say for Leaf fans, context of the Bruins, our first round matchup, a success is get out of round one, right, and worry about all else after round one. In that context, I'm a yes. Dave, how about you?
I am too. I feel like there could have been another piece in there potentially to supplement that win to maybe that we're not even looking so narrow sighted that instead of it's like why are we just going to settle for round one? Maybe we could have also taken down round two, as difficult as it probably will be potentially going up against the Bruins. But and that's so I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say like an 80% yes. So there's my answer. So I think
guess we're satisfied. We could have been ecstatic, but we're satisfied.
Oh yeah, 100%. There was a chance to make that an 11 out of 10 trade deadline, I think, but it was still a very fair. It's so weird because it's like I think we added 6 new players. I think since Kyle Dubas has got to town at the trade deadline period, I think combined we've gotten 6 new players. Like, you know what I mean?
Sounds about right.
It seems like in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get into it. So we'll start deadline day and work our way back, because deadline day there was all this anticipation and nothing happened. Yeah, me and Cristian were like,
Dryden Hunt.
Sorry, my mistake. We got the AHL trade. We got Dryden Hunt out of here for Radim Zohorna, who's a very big body.
Okay, that's the line.
Yeah, that's what it is. So we'll start there. I think that trade signified the trade deadline day for most people, where it was like just, shuffling deck chairs basically. But me and Cristian were like on our phones the entire day. We were like, oh, if you could do a Connor Garland trade if you send out like, oh my God, that one made too much sense.
We only have to retain $600K, and then you don't even have to waive Czar, and then we were doing it all. I do it all the time. But like, we were into it yesterday, man. Yeah. We got a little too greedy. We were like, Tyler Toffoli, that's a Scarborough boy. Look at him, he's a passion haver.
Well, before that it was Tyler Bertuzzi, right? And then the Bruins jumped on him, right?
Yeah. We got a little ahead of ourselves, but a little bit in terms of a spoiled attitude. But hey,
in terms of the actual deadline day, it was quiet for us. It was just more anticipation of maybe, because there was that open-ended question left after the previous trade, which I guess we could combine all of them together in one. It was the Jake McCabe and Sam, we got Jake McCabe and Sam Lafferty from the Hawks. We shipped out nothing from our roster. It was just a couple of picks.
Joey Anderson.
Joey Anderson, from the Marlies. So that was the start of this week for us, right? We acquired a potential, that guy's playing top 4 minutes for us, Jake McCabe. I think we talked about this before. So Jake McCabe probably plays top 4 minutes. Sam Lafferty fits into the bottom 6. He's looked actually pretty good. I've actually been enjoying the two or three games that he's played so far. I've been enjoying what I've seen from him. We're going to see him tonight against the Canucks. Hopefully, we absolutely like the shit out of the Canucks, because I do not want to look like an ass after all the shit we've been talking about the Canucks all year. And it's not even just us. Like, all of Leaf Nation has been clowning the Canucks.
Who's scoring tonight, Dave? Who's scoring tonight? Connor Hurley.
Who's a former friend? Oh,
it'll just be that, just to twist the knife a little bit. That's what's gonna
it
happen.
will.
Yeah.
100%. But Luke Shen's going to score, so
It evens out. Evens out.
Yeah.
Speaking of Luke Shen, what do you guys think of that acquisition?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you talk about getting Luke Shen, you also have to talk about the one player we did. Well, not the only player we lost off the roster, but within 15 minutes of the Shen trade, prior to it, was losing Engvall for the third. We did talk about that in the Islanders part, so we don't have to get too much into it. But I let's talk about Shen in a bit. Let's at least mention the other trade, the big one between Leafs and Caps, and then we can break down each player and kind of our thoughts on each of them, how they fit into the Leafs roster, all that good stuff. So what was the other trade we made there, Dave, with the Caps?
Yeah, so we sent the Sandman, Rasmus Sandin. I know
Brian fist bumps.
Brian's giving us yeah, so we talked about Sandman in our Metro review, but I guess we could spend a little bit more time here on the Sandman, the Pack-a-Punch man himself. That was such a funny little anecdote we came up there. But I'm genuinely gonna miss the Sandman. You know, we've been watching his development since junior. You know, since we picked him. Basically, he was drafted with us with a pretty late round pick. Like, you know, everybody talks about like, oh, what are the Leafs gonna do? You know, we kept the Boston pick from who did we get the Boston pick from? That was the that was from the Caps for Gustafsson, right? Yeah, so this is in the same deal. Everybody was like, oh, you know, they're gonna use that pick to, and that was the thought. Like, you know, you're getting that draft capital back. We're thinking that he's gonna respend it, maybe package some money out in the form of like Justin Hall or Alex Kerfoot, who seem to be on the fringes of the lineup right now, and they're making big money, like stuff that could be valuable. But he didn't. He kept the pick.
It's gone though by the draft. That pick is 100%.
Yes.
That's one thing to note, right? Like, you know, we got Sandin with such a high pick, but the caveat to that is most likely we're not even going to use that pick. We're going to package that off with something else. I know you brought up before potentially, you know, depending on how the rest of the season plays out, but potentially packaging that pick for Matt Murray's contract, which could be an option.
The Mrazek trade. Like you said, it totally depends on how the season goes. Maybe Matt Murray is the one who's like winning game 5s and 6s. Like who knows? This is just projecting a little forward and why we maybe kept the first and like Dave said, why we didn't maybe package it, try and make one last deal. There could be some logic behind it at the end of the day. Remains to be seen though. Let's talk about that Sandin trade because we've given thoughts on the McCabe stuff. We'll get into like our thoughts about their actual play on the ice in a bit. But in terms of that deal, do you think it was smart on the Leafs to trade? Not smart, but yeah, like the Leafs trading Sandin. Do you agree with that move, or would you have preferred us to just not make that trade in general? Like what deal sets us up better for being all in, quote unquote?
From your perspective, if you want to win now, like I'm talking like this playoff series or this playoff run, I think Gustafsson's a better player than Sandin. I don't know how many, like who's your highest scoring defenseman, but Gustafsson has like 38 points.
It's him now.
It's now Gustafsson. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Riley before him.
But I don't think Riley was anywhere. I doubt Riley was anywhere near 38 points.
I think he's at like 29 or 30, something like that.
So he instantly becomes your number one offensive, quote unquote, defenseman. Do I think he's the best defenseman on your team? No, but he has the most offensive talent. I'm telling you guys, like he has a dart. He has such a clean pass. I don't know where he gets it from, but I can already see it. You're in your defensive end. Gustafsson picks up the puck from, I don't know, Giordano or something. Then he sends a nice stretch pack all the way to Nylander, enters the zone, scores. It's already written in the stars. I've seen it so many times with my team, with like Shiri, Johansson, even Ovechkin, right? Gustafsson sends the long ball and the receiver gets it and scores. It's just how it is. It's just the way he plays. So I think Sandin can do that.
If it's not a pass, he'll go in himself, right? Like we saw it firsthand this year.
He scored like 2 goals.
Well, I know.
No, he scored a hat trick against you
guys. He got a
guys.
hat trick against us. Yeah, and they weren't like I'm not gonna say we're not gonna sit here and say like I could remember those 3 goals. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say like he's the second coming of Erik Karlsson, like with a powerful wrister or a clap bomb. Like a couple
There's
of them
something.
were
Still more low key. Yeah.
it was definitely more low key, 100%.
But the main thing I just wanted to point out is, do you think Sandin does that? What I'm saying, like, does he have the offensive capability in this very moment?
Right now,
Us sitting here
no,
right now, no.
I
No,
don't
no.
think
I
so.
think Sandin probably, because he knows our system better, he is probably a little bit more of a better transition player in terms of holding on to the puck himself as opposed to the long bomb. I think Sandin's got a little bit more foot speed than Gustafsson from what I've seen so far. He's got a little bit more of that edge work. Um, and maybe he's got a little bit more of a volatile like Clapper. Like he can kind of get a little bit more behind his shot. But they're very similar players, and like we talked about, throw them in the teleporter, right, and you get one of the other guy out the whole time thing. I just for me, I see a lot of people that are already putting slander on Gustafsson, even before he touched the ice and made the unfortunate play on the Blake Coleman goal against Calgary. I just think people are looking at him kind of in the same way that we looked at Engvall, where it's like, oh, this is a guy who he doesn't play playoff style. He's always an offensive defenseman. Well, he can't defend. Is he physical? Oh, he's not physical. So then he's what's the point? He is going to be Riley insurance. That's what he is. God forbid Riley goes down in a playoff series. You throw Erik Gustafsson into that top six, he can probably quarterback that PP1, right? It's not the same style as Riley. Riley's got a different tool. Like definitely got the wheels, and he's got more of a low key shot, even more low key than Gustafsson. But Gustafsson can bring some great value there. The Sandin trade made sense to me only because of the timing and the fact that Sandin's value was only going to go down from here. Because of the other moves we made, Sandin was not going to play in our top six outside of injuries in the playoffs, and that would have brought down his value. If we tried to make this same deal in the summer, probably doesn't go through. Washington's probably saying, well, why am I giving you a first for a guy that played 2 of your 7 or 3 of your 16 playoff games or whatever, right? So the timing made sense, and I almost wonder, because Kyle Dubas is this type of guy where he does kind of do those like gentleman's agreements where he says like, okay, I'm going to sign you, or I'm going to try and put you in a position to exceed on my team, and if it doesn't work out, we're going to try and find you a new location where you can get some playing time. He did that with usually depth guys, like we're talking Josh Levo. We're talking Wayne Simmons was another one coming into this year. Like, hey, Wayne, you're going to get a chance at a training camp, but if you don't make the opening roster, we're going to load your name around, see if somebody wants you. Didn't end up happening, but that's the type of guy that Kyle Dubas is. And I kind of wonder if the same thing transpired here, where it was, listen, Rasmus, we're giving you full opportunity to try and cement your spot in the top 4, but you got to beat the guys outright. Like, we're not going to hand you this position. And he had a good season, right? Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough to propel him into a solid top 4 spot, and you weren't going to get more value for him. And I kind of think that's that on the Sandin trade. Do you have anything to add on that front, Dave?
No, I think you hit all the points there. Yeah, I think, yeah, as much as me and Cristian and a lot of Leafs Nation like genuinely grew attached to this player, like it comes to the point where it's like that's your, I guess you want to say like that's your kid. Like we watched this guy grow up and start molding his game, and unfortunately he capped out his time. Like, if he turned into the second coming of Morgan Riley and he was putting up ridiculous numbers, he'd be on the team right now. Unfortunately, that's not how the cookie crumbles all the time, right? So I'd rather see him actually get game time, and I'm glad it's with somebody like a team that genuinely needs defensive help on the back end in Washington. Like it's not even just like for Brian's sake. Like, I know he's going to be a great player for the Caps, and Brian and the rest of the Caps fans should be so happy that they got him right now. You're going to just watch him. Like we kind of grew him. Now he's going to start to blossom under definitely a lot more time. Like that's what I'm upset about a little bit, but at the very least it went to Brian's team. He'll remind us every time he does something of note.
Thank
He'll
you,
send stuff in.
Kyle. You were
You
the
guys got a
best.
little bit
Yeah.
more likable. You got a little bit more likable, Brian. You know, you kind of climbed
Yeah.
up my personal rankings a little bit.
You're going up in my books, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle,
Okay.
I've always been a Kyle Dubas fan, but you know, I'm not. I like him a little bit more now.
Just a little bit more. Just a little bit. Just a little
Okay.
bit.
Let's move into the next player you guys added, Luke Shen. I want to get this one out of the way. So, how do you guys? What?
The return of the
Passion.
Mac, baby.
I knew you're gonna.
Sir,
I
return
knew
of
you're
the
gonna say
Mac.
something like that. Yeah. Okay. Luke Shen, obviously drafted by Toronto, traded, shipped out for the greatest trade a Toronto GM has ever made. 1-for-1, Luke Shen for JVR. What a fleecing that was.
The trade is 1-for-1. Yeah. The OG 1-for-1.
It seems like 11,
Um
11 years later he comes back.
Listen, so my opinion on Luke Shen is that he's always been a misunderstood. He's a defenseman playing in the wrong era. That's always been the problem for Luke Shen. Like you see 5th overall draft pick and you expect, okay, he's got a big body, but can he put up the points as well? He's never really had that sort of ability. Even back in junior, I don't think he ever really had outstanding junior numbers, but it's the 6'6" frame that attracts a lot of people to him. I think legitimately he might be. I don't remember any other like top draft picks. Like he might have been the first hyped top draft pick in our lifetime, and maybe like Yuri Tlusty. I don't remember anybody else. Like
For the Leafs, I
Yeah.
remember Stuart Percy being a big one, but
that's
but
after
that was
his
like the
time.
first.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
okay,
what I
okay.
mean. That's
Shen
2008,
is
right?
the earliest in my memory. Yeah. So you know what? I wondered if Riley and I couldn't remember if Riley and Shen had played on the Leafs at the same time. They didn't because Shen left in 2011, and that was that season is when Riley got drafted. So I don't think there was any overlap.
They were on the same
there.
team for a day. They were on the same team for one day. So Morgan Riley got drafted with the 4th overall pick in
I
20
think, dude, it might have been 5th as well, to be honest.
or 5th, something like that, right?
It was 5th. I'm looking right now. 5th.
2012 or 2011?
2012.
2012.
And the very next day, then I believe that would have been Burke. So Brian Burke then shipped out Luke Shen to Philly for
That's
JVR.
That's actually crazy because you know that Luke Shen definitely sent the "Hey, welcome to the organization" text on draft day.
Well,
right?
he had to. He was the only one
Yeah.
there. Like, who else
Yeah.
was on the D line?
Right, man. That's so. That actually makes me happy to know like that it's come that far full circle. Like, and now they were playing on the same pairing, man. That's
Yeah.
storybook shit right there. That is storybook stuff. Every single Luke Shen quote. It just like hook it up straight into my veins. It is just like it's just candy for me. I'm just eating it up, man. The passion is just absurd here. Okay, he's like, this means so much to me to be back in Toronto. We're in the same number. You know, when I was there, we never really had a good team. We're never competing. It means the world to me to be on a team that could
And then
actually win something.
Then they competed the very next year.
Yeah. So
That's tough.
listen, man. This is you need a trade if you're trying to be a contender that just hits you in the feels, and this gets it. This gets it going. This is like when you signed Spezza, right? Like that one hit us in the feels. Giordano, and then Giordano's like, yeah, growing up, I'm a local boy, whatever. Hits you in the feels. O'Reilly hit us in the feels too. Don't get us wrong. Tavares right in the feels. Luke Shen, and he's not even a local guy. What is he Saskatchewan? I think he's Saskatchewan, right?
Saskatchewan.
So he's a Saskatoon guy, and it hits you right in the feels. It absolutely does. And listen, let's talk about maybe Luke Shen the player, right? Let's talk about Luke Shen the player. He's got a little less foot speed than Hall. He has a little less foot speed than Hall, which is saying something. Yeah, and that's saying something because Hall isn't exactly fleet of foot, right? But this guy goes into corners like he's a butcher, right? He's battering ram. He's a battering ram. He's a butcher. He's filled the Ilya Labushkin hole in my heart. Right. That's what he's done. That's what he's done. And I think his attitude is infectious in the locker room, and that expands to the ice. What did you think about him, Dave? I know you were saying he made a decent stretch pass in that Calgary game, no?
Yeah, he did actually.
Yeah.
That's something I was very surprised about. Going into the trade, I wasn't looking for Luke Shen the player on ice as much as Luke Shen the personality behind. Because you're not going to get Luke Shen from 15 years ago when we drafted him, whatever, when we traded him out in 2012. That Luke Shen has unfortunately passed him by. What you're going to get though is when he's on the ice, it's almost guaranteed that he's just going to lay somebody out. If he doesn't lay somebody out, he's clearing people out in front of the net. And if he's not doing that, apparently this guy's got the eyes of like prime 2017 Erik Karlsson, because I saw him make a stretch pass from the Leafs hash marks to the Flames blue line. I was like, where did that come from? You definitely didn't pick that up in Toronto, because I've never seen that in my life. By all accounts, on every team that he's been on, including his prior team, the Vancouver Canucks, he has been a locker room leader. He's been the type of guy to keep a lid on, a guy like JT Miller. That's a big reason why they brought him back into the fold. They wanted somebody to babysit JT Miller in the locker room, and Luke Shen was that guy. So that's why, with this trade, I'm looking for somebody who is just going to get in those dirty areas. He's going to clear the front of the net. He already did that. Like, that was on display against Calgary. There was, I think it might have been Huberdeau on the ground, and he was just feeding him cross checks to the back of the head, like just laying into him. And I was like, that's something. It's the violence that's like, everybody's like, oh, take it out of hockey. There's no need for it, but there comes a time and a place. Listen, I'm not going to say that I want this guy to step on the ice and scrap the next person that he sees every time.
Concussing everyone, yeah, but
100%.
Within reason,
yeah.
So, dude, I was sorry, Brian. I gotta do more Luke Shen reminiscing. I know you want to shift this here. I got more. I went deep down the rabbit hole of watching like Luke Shen highlights. I watched a highlight pack of his best plays from his time in Toronto, and it was like some cheesy like 2010 music. It was in the YouTube title. It was like Luke Shen best moments Toronto Maple Leafs in brackets HD. Like we're now at like the in brackets 4K. This was still in brackets HD. You can watch this now in 720, 1080p. Like, this is great quality stuff. Watch that in the fields. The final clip was that end-to-end rush he had him on Boston that one time. It's from the Leafs hash marks again. And instead of making the stretch pass, he's like, I'm Luke Shen, and I'm going to decide that I can actually skate like the wind. And he comes through the neutral zone. He sees Adam McQuaid on the Bruins. He drops the shoulder of Adam McQuaid, goes around him, comes in on Tim Thomas, and he goes far side. And it was just like, oh my god. So that was when my hype was at the max. And then I watched another video when he said the Vancouver Canucks record, the team record for most hits in a game, with 12 hits. I went deep down the hole, boys. Okay, I watched that clip. I would say maybe like 7 of the 12 hits are like probably illegal. And I like that. That's
the borderline one.
Man. That's good stuff. Like just cross checks, just right in the back on the numbers, because that's kind of the stuff that is allowed come playoff time, right? So, hey, I know that he's probably the player who's going to have the least impact on the ice that the Leafs acquired, but man, he's got me pumped up. He's got me feeling it.
So
I'm now done on Luke Shen.
So we already did RR, we already did Jake McCabe, previous episodes. Before I end off, I just want to ask you guys, what do you want your lineup to look like going into the playoffs?
Brian, thank God you asked the question, because that's exactly where I was going to go. That's where I was going to go here. Dave, you want to start defense or on forward?
Let's go top back.
Top down.
Let's start at the forward. So obviously we're going to keep our current first line. It's Bunting, Matthews, and I would say Marner deserves that right wing spot. I think for as great as Nylander's played, but here's the thing: and we'll get into it with the second line now. So you get your second line going. I think you probably want to start it off. See, here's the thing. Do we want to start with the three-headed monster down the middle, or do we want to start loading up the top six? Because you could go two ways with it, right?
Okay, I have my opinion here. I just formulated this opinion in my brain 2 milliseconds ago. Yeah, 2 milliseconds ago. Here it is. You load the top six, and this is why you load the top six. If you start with a three-headed monster, you are basically admitting that you don't like the look of your bottom six enough to trust them against Tampa Bay. You can't have that mindset. You cannot have that mindset. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You say, David Kampf or whoever you're going to have at 3C, I trust you. I want you out there. Go toe-to-toe with Nick Paul. Go toe-to-toe with Ross Colton and Corey Perry and Patrick Maroon and all those guys. You got to give them a shot. You have to. If you don't like the results, you go to the three-headed monster. I feel like that's the quote-unquote nuclear option. And in my mind, I think you got to trust your bottom six. That's Tampa's whole thing. They trust their bottom six. Trust your bottom six. We have a bottom six that is solid this year. You give them that shot. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you there, Christian. So you probably get you probably put Ryan O'Reilly at center, who's won like 80% of his draws so far, which is insane. Like it's actually ridiculous. And you have him being supported by the captain John Tavares on his wing and Nylander on their other wing. I think that's like as good of a top six as we've had in many playoff runs. So that's and another thing too. We should hopefully, with these last 20 games, be getting a fully healthy Michael Bunting, who was kind of a non-factor last year because he was injured going into the playoffs, and he wasn't able to live up to his pest-like reputation. So for as much stuff that we've talked on, or has been talked on Michael Bunting in recent weeks, like maybe taking it too far sometimes, I think this year, should he stay healthy, is a big opportunity for him to finally jump into the next echelon of what he could be as a hockey player. And then that being said, you probably have the likes of Calle Yarncroke, David Kampf, and who'd be the winger there? Probably Alex
You can really
Kerfoot.
do. Yeah, I mean, you could go Kerfoot, you could go Lafferty. It's probably Kerfoot or Lafferty. I would probably go personally. I'd probably go Kerfoot, Kampf, Yarncroke. I feel like that's my third line, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. And then that leaves Zach Aston-Reese, Nola Chari, and Sam Lafferty finishing off the rest of the lineup there. I know we have Simmons as like the extra forward. I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna see any game time.
He's lower on the totem pole for me. Like if you go to the extras, right? I think if you had to choose, like let's say not Nyes. Let's say it's not Nyes. Let's say it's some of the guys that are here. Like, are you going Holmberg? Are you going McMahon, Simmons? Those are kind of the three that come to mind.
I've liked Holmberg. I think more. I think he's got some sort of a finish to him. Bob, I don't know, for whatever reason, Bobby just couldn't. For as much as he's lighting up the A right now, he just couldn't get anything going. Basically, like he had some really good chances. Thought he scored a goal that was called back. I think in that regard, I think maybe Pontius over Bobby right now. But I'd also like to see both of them come into the lineup a little bit more down the stretch now that the rosters are set. The roster size, like you could have as many people as you want under the cap on your roster as well. I think that they at least deserve a few more games heading down the stretch. And they're just good insurance options right there. So another person like Nick Robertson as well. Like, does he even come back, and play it all the rest of this year? Like, I have no idea.
I feel like probably no. Honestly, I feel like
it doesn't look like it.
It's tough. It's rough for him, man.
It's not worth to re-aggravate anything. Just take the rest of the season off, and then you're gonna come back to play fourth line minutes and play Zach Aston-Reese?
Yeah,
like, it's not worth it.
No. So there is Nyes though too. He is the X factor here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put the pressure on him of saying like he can contribute on a second line. Even a third line might be pushing it. It really might be, is this a guy who can maybe supplant Zach Aston-Reese? He is obviously a very skilled player. He's playing on the most dangerous line in college hockey with Jimmy Snuggerud and Logan Cooley. They're absolutely lighting things up. They're gross. They're going to probably win the NCAA championship. And for that reason,
Yeah, the
they might
odds
only
on
get into 2
favorite.
games. Odds on favorite. Knives might only get a chance to play in 2 regular season games, but I think you definitely give him those games. In the event he does put up a good showing, doesn't even have to be like scoring a goal or an assist. It could just be a good showing in terms of he looks physically mature enough to withstand shifts in the NHL. I do honestly think long and hard about it because he is an X factor. Maybe he's not a game one fourth line left wing. He might be like an after a loss type of addition, but
He's the
I'm
panic
definitely
button.
very curious. Sorry,
He's
Brian.
he's the panic button. He's the button you click
Yeah,
when it's
yeah,
like, okay, this we've tried everything. This is what we need. We need some new
yeah.
life. And you hit the button, and that's what happens. But
And after
Yeah.
seeing Nick Robertson do it, like I totally think Nyes is going to be capable too, right? Just on a physical standpoint. So, yeah, defensively, I know Brian. Let's hurry it up here. Defensively, my preferred pairs would be Riley, Brody, Gio Lilligren, McCabe, Shen / Hall. Those are my preferred, fully healthy. I get my full choice of defensemen. I think those are my 6 guys. How about you, Div?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement there. As long as if Justin Hall is your 7th D, I know I know now it doesn't really matter. Like the trade deadline has passed, he's still on the team. If Justin Hall is your 7th man, I could live with it. If he has to come in for like an emergency, you have him, and then you bring like somebody like Connor Timmins comes up one, Eric Gustafson's there. They're like I think 7A, 7B, 7C. Like you could put any one of those 3 and put them into the lineup, and they'll have a showing. And then you also have more stability as like 8th and 9 options down there after with like Jordy Ben, Victor Mete. Who else is there? I'm definitely missing somebody. I think that's it.
Gustafson.
Yeah, so I put Gustafson in that like
Okay, my
7
bad.
A, B,
Yeah.
C category. It's like a rotating thing, right?
It
Yeah,
says
they're
it's-
definitely like they're set back there. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. But those
Yeah.
6 that you listed, 100%, that should be game 1. I think no debate. Justin Hall needs to come out of the lineup, dude. I'm sorry. I feel like he's definitely such a nice guy. I've said it so many times before. He seems to
Good locker
be
room guy.
a real good locker room guy. Just don't let him see ice in game 1 unless you like have to in game 2. Like you know what I mean?
knock on wood. and then for goalies, I'm assuming
Listen,
Samsonov and
I
Woll.
know some people were saying, yeah, well, no, I think it's Samsonov Murray. Murray's actually playing tonight, so that'll be good to see how he does, how he is health wise. I know some people were saying or criticizing that we didn't get another goalie in here. To me, there wasn't really much on the goaltender market that you could have brought in that it was definitively better than Wall, or that would have necessarily kept you in a series more than Wall would had Samsonov and Murray gone down. Like, I'm sorry, if Samsonov goes down, we simply will be walking on stilts with Murray because he could go down at any moment and then you're going to Wall. Like there was no goalie out there. You could argue Corpusalo. Corpusalo makes
Dude,
like
I don't
2.1
think
million. How are you going to carry that?
Yeah, even for the goalies that were moved, and I think there's only 2, which was Corpusalo and Quick, right?
Quick's
I
a
don't think that
non-option.
there really wasn't a genuine market for them because we listed somebody like Vizmelka who could have went the Veggie Milkman himself. You know, there was a couple of guys that you were like, okay, maybe you could try to swing something, but I genuinely don't think that there was a goalie market, and there wasn't enough of a market to make a trade and also improve what you already have. I think you just have to roll with like listen, we went the past last year we went with Jack Campbell, who this year is putting up god awful numbers, unfortunately. It was Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek last year with Eric Shalgren probably I would have probably trusted Eric Shalgren in net over Tampa than Peter Mrazek.
Yeah.
The year before that, it was the damaged goods of Freddie Anderson
The
backing up.
skeleton of Freddie. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
If
not
Campbell got
like
injured, you would have had Freddie limping onto the ice to get in the net.
yeah, 100%. So it's not like it's new. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there just wasn't the market. I think that was the thing, and which is fair. Like, goaltending is something to probably be addressed in the off season rather than mid season. Like, it's just so difficult to pull a move like that. We just gotta hope and pray, basically, at this point.
So
Okay.
So one last question before we end off. Do you guys trust your goaltending going into those playoffs?
I think I trust my
him enough.
goaltending as much as I've trusted it any other year.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, right?
Dude, 2 years ago, Jack Campbell came into the team, against Montreal, and he statistically outdueled Carey Price. It just came down to the rest of the team kind of capitulating on itself and giving it up, right?
And he didn't have a good game 7. Everyone loves to talk about the Brendan Gallagher 5-hole goal. Okay, all right.
Dude, he had 6 stellar games. Like, you should have put it away in 5, realistically, right?
And how about last year? It wasn't Campbell's fault last year. He went toe to toe with Vassy, man.
Yeah, I think he potentially had one stinker of a game. It might have been like game 3 or game 2, whatever.
That was a full team stinker one, though, right? That was the blowout in Tampa, right, where we could have went up 3-1. I think it was game 4.
Exactly.
I believe. Yeah,
game 4. So I trust him as much. That's as much to say as I trust them as much, if not probably a little bit. Like I trust Samsonov a little bit more than. I trust Samsonov a little bit more, and dude, like, let's not get away from the fact that Matt Murray is a former 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Like,
oh God!
As much as
I don't forget.
As much as it's 5 years away, 100%. It's like I hear their arguments. Like, that was 2016, 2017, but he did that.
You don't even have to give that caveat. We've seen him play this year. We've seen him play this year.
I don't know why everybody calls him, like, he's considered the non-option right now, but it's like, I get it. Like, he hasn't played.
If he's healthy, he's an option.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. That Dallas game, like, he stonewalled Dallas when we won 4-0, right?
Single-handedly had some games performance in the analytic era.
Yeah, like, he's a goalie where if our system is on firing on full cylinders in front of him, he's 100% a positional goaltender. He's not as athletic as Samsonov, not even close. But when he's on his game, he can do some good stuff. When you leave him exposed, his glove hand will fail us. Samsonov, another goalie where when we are covering him defensively and not letting him get peppered with shots, that seems to be the pattern lately. He'll make some great saves in the same game where he lets in some terrible goals. So it's like, if we don't overwork him and we find that happy medium where, he's facing the puck a decent bit, because some goalies are like that. Freddie was like that, I found, where if he didn't touch the puck enough early on, it was like it was like a bouncing ball. Yeah, that first game to him. Yeah, so I agree, Dave. I trust Samsonov, and I think Murray as the number 2, if he's healthy, is one of the better number 2s that we've had outside of Campbell. Campbell as the backup to Freddie going into Columbus, but Freddie didn't have a good series, so right, like that's the closest comparable.
Again, neither did the team, right? Like, they had the big comeback win in game 4, and then they just laid the biggest egg the next game, right? Like,
such an egg. Okay. I do want to give shout out to Jake McCabe. Has a little bit more offense than I thought. Sneakily can skate better than I thought. He can hit. He can honestly do it all. I think the coaching staff already trusts him. I know I said I have him with Shen, and I think that would be a good pair. I think about it more, and I feel like it'll end up being McCabe-Brody, because I don't know if you can play McCabe enough time with Shen on a third pair. That's just something that came to mind right now. I feel like they're going to have him be a workhorse. And unless they get to the point where they trust Shen to be a workhorse.
Yeah.
Right?
Is Shen going to be is he really going to turn into the Boosh number 2? Because game 1 last year, the pairing was Riley and Labushkin. So Is
I think
that
they're gonna shoot. They're gonna try it. They're gonna give it every
100%?
opportunity.
I mean, you try it. 100%. You
Yes.
try it. Like you got to see what sticks, right? So I mean, try it. 100%. I
If
don't.
you
I don't know
and listen, you
if I
can do
agree.
it where Riley and Shen like they don't play as much as Riley and LaBouche can play. Like you have them
Yeah.
maybe play a flat 20 a night, and you have Brody and McCabe play like 22, 23 minutes a night, and Gio Lilligren 17, 18 minutes, right? Maybe that's the way to do it. So I just thought about that right now.
All
Yeah,
right, boys. Any last words for the Leafs?
passionate United stuff.
Beat the damn Canucks tonight, please.
Oh God.
Please.
Okay. If you want a Luke Shen jersey, Toronto Maple Leafs Luke Shen jersey, you can get one at your local Goodwill or NHL shop.
Wow.
Depending how old you are, you might be able to open your closet and you might find your old one in there.
Yeah,
That's true.
it
But
might
if you
be
want,
already in there.
but if you want a brand new one, NHLshop.ca is your place to go. Shout out to
I
Fubo.
think. One last thing, Brad. I think they already started promotions for the Toronto St. Pat's because that's coming up. I believe next week is St. Patrick's Day or the week after, something like that.
One or the other. Yeah.
St. Pat's, Ryan O'Reilly.
That I was just about to say that is going to be my treat
That's the
for myself
buy.
this year. I think that's
Do it,
going to be the
Dave.
buy.
Dave, are you
I
using
didn't get the reverse retro, but I think I'm going to splurge for the
Dave,
Ryan O'Reilly.
use our link down below, NHLshop.ca. Shout out to Fubo.
Yeah.
If you want to watch the Canucks Leafs game tonight, is it a Hockey Night? Do you guys have it again?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hockey Night in Canada, Fubo TV, on CBC. Shout out to Razor. Thank you again for listening. And this concludes every single team in the league after the 2023 NHL trade deadline. Oh my goodness. All right, that's a wrap.